Hello there, and my name is Keith Hayden. Welcome to this demonstration of my Japanese translation process using AI. I'm very excited to demo this process with you, and one of the things I love about it, among many of the factors, is that it really doesn't take that long, and it's not as difficult to figure out as you think. But maybe you've seen on this webpage or wherever it's at, maybe you've seen my translation that I did of my science fiction, my military game tech fiction novel, Series and Limnic in under a week. I translated 100,000 words in English to 200,000 words in Japanese while formatting it and proofreading the original version of the story. How about that? Instead of taking weeks, months, and spending tens of thousands of dollars, I got the same amount of work done for 20 bucks in 5 days. Now, if you've ever wanted to localize something to the Japanese language specifically, then you're in luck because this is what I'm going to show you in this quick demo today. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so I'm going to tell you all of the things that you need to get this done. Now, of course, there are alternatives. You don't have to use exactly what I've used, and of course, the technology is going to shift, is going to change. But when you're using AI to translate, I'm going to show you what I used just to get you started and ground you. The first thing you need, obviously, is something that you wrote or something that you're translating for somebody else. For me, that happens to be my novel. I use a program called Atticus. Atticus is a book formatting and writing platform that makes it easy to format books. And I just so happen to be using this. This is where my novel is at. And I'm just going to use this chapter that I did, my most recent chapter that I did last night. This is a chapter in my novel. And as you can see, we have the whole chapter here. So the chapter's here in English. So make sure you read through it, make sure it's exactly what you want, and then head to the next step, which the next step is to use an AI prompt in one of the AI chatbots to translate this to proofread this. So I would come in here, and I'm using Claude. Now, I like Claude for this task because it tends to be a good balance between other LLMs that I've used, other artificial intelligence chatbots that I've used for different purposes. But I like it's not too preachy, like it doesn't get in your stuff too much, but then it also still listens to commands very well. So this is the prompt that I give it. You're an expert proofreader with 30 years experience. You're also a highly experienced science fiction novelist who loves to teach. You explain any revisions you make at an approachable level. Your output will be critiqued by a master proofreader and science fiction novelist. So do your best. And then I give it the chapter. So what's the point of putting these different things in the prompt? Well, obviously I wanted to have the experience of a proofreader because I wanted to proofread what I've written. And then I wanted to actually explain what it's doing, because if you don't put this line in here, then it will just make corrections and it won't tell you what it changed. And that doesn't help me grow and get better as a writer. So I want to make sure it outputs that for me. And then this is just kind of a thing, a little trick when working with the AI to say, hey, you're going to be evaluated for this. So it's trained to be very human-like, to want to get approval from outside authority, just like us. And so this type of line works very well in this. And then the last part is just telling it what the chapter is going to be. So I've already gone through this because I don't want it to, sometimes the generations can take a long time and I don't want this demo to be too long. But you can see some of the changes that it made. It just made minor tweaks, not too many. This is a pretty long chapter. So that's pretty good. Only 20 revisions for about 4,000 words. So not bad. And then we output the entire chapter in English. And then it usually runs out of space, like runs out of token space, and then we keep going to the end. This is a continuation prompt, and continue in the following. Do not give anything, do anything, because if it's too short, And especially if the AI knows it's a story, if it's fiction, then it will just keep extrapolating, like building on the story. And I don't like that because one, it's a waste of tokens, which tokens are kind of the currency that these AI systems use. So every time you prompt it, then it's burning tokens on the back end. And so there's only a certain amount of tokens that you can use during a session. And I'm using the paid version, and I have more than the free version. If you only have access to the free version, then you have even less tokens. So you want to save tokens. And the other thing is, it just takes too much time. It will continue to generate, and then you're sitting there waiting for it to generate, and it just slows down the process. So this helps it keep on track. And then we get to the next part. So I would take the output, take this, copy it, and paste it into this translator. Now, this is my absolute favorite language translator. This is called DeepL Translator, and it's just very colloquial. It has a built-in glossary if you get the paid version. Once again, I have the paid version of this. If you're doing a whole book, if you're doing like a blog post or something short, then don't worry about getting the paid version of these things. But if you're doing an entire book, you want to invest in the paid version of these tools of DeepL, and you can get Claude or you can get another AI chatbot, but you want the paid because you just want to go faster, especially with a whole book. It gets really tedious. I'm going to tell you. I did this for like 5 days straight and for several hours a day, and it just gets very tedious when it goes slow. So you want to make sure you can go as fast as possible. So I'd paste this in here, and then it will detect the Japanese, and then it will give me the Japanese. Now, this translation alone probably isn't bad, but we want it to be tailored to the story and to the characters, because these translations tend to be, this can't tell that this is a story. It's just words that it's, just doing one for one translating. The AI can, though. And this is the strength of using the AI to translate, because the AI, you can give it context for certain characters, for certain scenarios, situations, relationships between the characters, and this is where this process truly shines. So I would copy this, come over to Claude, and then I'd give it this prompt. You are an expert Japanese novel translator and proofreader with 30 years experience. You are highly fluent in Japanese and English. You are also a highly experienced social science fiction novelist who loves to teach. You explain any revisions you make at an approachable level in English. And I ask it, can you proofread this chapter? And then I start giving it descriptions of my characters. So I have this character named Rodan. I say he's like Barret from Final Fantasy VII, but more introverted. And then I go on to the next character, and I would give it. And then here's a very important line right here, what their relationship is. Now, why is that important? It's important because, of course, the relationship between the characters is going to affect the type of language that they use with each other, especially in a language like Japanese. It's true in English. It's true in every language. Like, you're going to talk to a child differently than you talk to the president of a company or something like that. That's the way it works. So we want to give the AI this context, so that when it does its generation, it builds these things into its translation like a real translator would do. They wouldn't just give you a good translator is not just going to give you a word for word literal translation. That doesn't work. And so here it goes. It went through, and this is the translation. So it gets the translation. This is all the Japanese. And then see, it took 3 parts, 3 times to do it, and that's okay. So I'd copy and paste it, and then I'm ready to go into my final document. And I'll move down to this. This is the last chapter, and then I would copy and paste it in here. Now, the formatting you have to do separate. I wish there was an AI for book formatting. There's not, at least not that I know of. So the formatting, you do have to just kind of do it manually. But look at this. Can you imagine doing this by hand 208,000 words. There's no way I could have done that in 5 days. But with the AI, it's so much faster. And now, don't get me wrong. I know maybe some people will watch this video and be like, well, is the translation any good? Well, it's up to you, and this is where it helps to have knowledge in your language, because you'll be able to look and see, does it make sense with your characters? Is the atmosphere right? Are they speaking to each other in a way that is true to the original text, and so on? Because I can read a decent amount of Japanese, I can tell that, okay, at least the main parts that I care about, like the dialogue and things like that, they match more or less what I intended in the English version of the book. But of course, you can also just copy and paste this, put it in the translator, and just reread it back to yourself and see, hey, does this work for me? And then you're done. So do this once, do this twice, do this 10 times, do it 100 times, depending on how long your book is, and you are going to have a successfully translated version of whatever it is that you're translating in a fraction of a time for a fraction of the cost. And that concludes this brief demo. That's all there is to it. If you have any questions or you want help implementing this process for something that you'd like translated into Japanese, then you can contact me through this website. Through my website, it's keithhayden.net, or you can find me on Twitter, X, at @KH_author. You can also send me an email at keith@hackstudios, HACSTUDIOS.XYZ. And you can get a hold of me there. And I'd be happy to help you walk through this process and get your whatever you're translating into the hands of Japanese people who can enjoy your work. Thanks for watching this demo, and I hope good luck with your translation. Sayonara.